Okay, welcome everybody to the April 10th Ortelius Architecture meeting. Let me drop the link in real quick to the docs. So some things that I just want to update everybody on, kind of based on our governing board meeting that we had a couple weeks ago. One of the things that is a goal is to get some more contributor involvement with actually making like coding changes and stuff. Um, so on that note, let me share my screen. So on that note, what I've done is I've actually taken all of the open issues that are normally in the Ortelius repo, the main repo that we use, and I've actually moved them over to a backlog repo. Um, so if we look at the issues here, now we have all of our issues. And the reason why I did this was we've tried doing like the the project planning inside of GitHub with the releases and the projects and stuff like that. And I think what was happening was people would come in, they'd see 58 issues, and they'd just be overwhelmed on what to pick. Even though we have the good first issue tags, those type of things, I think it was just too overwhelming for people to know where to start. So what I'd like to do is, we'll still use the Ortelius repo for all the issues, but I want to build out very specific issues for work that can be done like in an hour. So, for example, we have the Jenkins badging that we kind of have a design for. I am going to go in, I'll take that one as a task to go in and break that down into small little pieces that are between a half hour and an hour worth of work, and add the issues in here for people to work on that. So that way we have like small discrete things that folks can work on that aren't going to take days, and we'll be able to move some coding changes along on that front. So I'll take the task around the Jenkins plugin side. I want to keep the list short. So I'll probably, even though there may end up being, let's say, 10 tasks that need to be done, I'm only going to put the top 3 to 5 in as issues for folks to work on. The other ones I may put in the backlog, or I may just hold off on creating them. I got to see how that plays out. So that's I think the plan to help move things forward on that front, to get some more community involvement on the coding side. And I think Utkarsh, I think we should do something similar for the AI piece. So why don't you give us an update what you got and see if it'll fit into the scheme I have going with the issues.
Okay.
So you said you have a few new folks that you've recruited.
Yeah. They would probably join after like 30 minutes. This was a like 1 hour call, right? They were in a call, some call, so they told me they'll join after 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think what we'll need to do is we'll have to figure out some well, on your front, we'll have some of the architecture discussions. I think we'll have to first off nail down the use case that we're trying to address. Um, so I think we can just write the use case in an issue, and because I don't think it'll be very long.
Mm-hmm.
the use case, maybe a couple paragraphs, and then from there we can start breaking it out into further details and on the tasks that we should need to address. What we need to do on that front.
Yeah, yeah. So we would need like some help from you to find out like what are the area of improvement that we can add value to, and like where which are like exactly the pain points in the DevOps process, or where this machine learning will mostly fit in. I have like few ideas, but it would be like much more better if everything is going with resonating with the problem, and we are coming up with the solution.
Right, right. Yeah. So let me describe the the problem, and I'll then write it down and all that stuff, so we have something to work from. But the general concept is, um, so we know there's things like renovate and dependabot. So let me go over to, whoops, fast API.
Hey, hi Nicole.
Hey,
You
Utkarsh.
joined at the right time.
Hi there.
Hey,
Um, I'm just going. I'm just going over some of the problem set that we're trying to address. So, um, in the DevOps process, you have things like Dependabot and Renovate. They'll go through and make sure that you have the latest version of your dependencies as part of your like your package JSON or your requirements.txt or your Docker file. And in that process, Dependabot and Renovate will go out and create um, new pull requests. So in this case, they have three pull requests right in a row for bumping versions
Mhm.
of the code of those package files. Now, as you can see when we're looking at the Fast API, they have 290 open PRs that are waiting to be merged, and some of these have already been like approved. Let's see if this one was. So Dependabot's going off. It's actually failing some checks. So this one's not ready to be approved. But what ends up happening is this is creating a lot of noise. And when we take a look at this from a security perspective, um, one of the things that we want to focus on is instead of just doing blanket dependency bumps that may or may not address a security vulnerability, that we want to go ahead and be discreet about what to bump. So if we go over to,
Okay.
let me just pull up.
Hey, hi Varun.
I think that's what it was. Yeah, we'll use the other one. So let me just go into one of our apps. see. So the Ortelius is going to be it collects the S bombs and knows the vulnerabilities, and because of that, we know that, and we know the runtime environments. We know exactly where we need to be handling things. I picked the wrong one. Let me see if I can find. That one doesn't have vulnerabilities in it. Let me try one of these. If not, I'll jump over to another one. There we go. So we know the vulnerabilities that are they're out there, and this data is coming from OSV Dev. So in this case, what we need to do is look at uh, we know what's running, we know what the vulnerabilities are, and in the vulnerability, we know the version that it was fixed in. So based on the version that we're running, so in this case we're running version 35, the fix is in 36. We know whether it's a critical or low priority. So this one's a low priority. So in this case, I would not even bother doing any remediation on this because we
Okay.
would just add in more noise. So let's see if there's any critical. I don't think this package has any critical. If there's a critical or a higher critical vulnerability and there's a fix out there, then that's where we want to go ahead and make the update to the requirements file, the package JSON, and that's where the ML or the AI will come into play, is to look at the repository, figure out what package manager it is, go in and bump the specific version of that package to the fixed version, and then go ahead and create the pull request. So what we're trying to do, the goal is to minimize the amount of noise that's in your pull request list with just security fixes that are for high and critical vulnerabilities. And as part of that pull request, you would be updating the package JSON, the requirements, depending on the language. It could be a POM file. It could be a go.mod. It just depends on the language that you're dealing
Mm,
with to go ahead. If it's a Docker file, you'd want to bump the Docker file on that front. Now, the Docker files are a little more interesting because like if we go back to our dependency, these are Golang ones. If we actually look at some of so in this case, it could be a Wolfie dependency that has a vulnerability in it. So, or like the std lib, I'm sorry, the stdc++. That's a package that's coming from the base image of the Docker build. So working our way backwards to determine what actually needs to be fixed as part of that is going to be some of the trickier parts on the Docker side. So let's say for the C++ library, we know that what the package name is. We know the current version. We know the fixed version, but we don't really know where to apply it because it's in the Docker base image. So we'd have to work our way backwards to say, oh, we need to bump Wolfie to the the 4.0.15 version or something like that. So though that's where the AI and ML is going to come into play to figure out how to update these files in the correct way to create the actual change to the file as well as the creating the pull request with it. Now what
Okay.
happens is once you have this pull request out here, the whole pipeline process of building and deploying it will be the normal pipeline process. So in this case, if we're looking at Fast API, let's see here. It runs through there's 4 checks that are failing. There's 21 successful checks. Um, so there's a bunch of work that actually happens once the PR is created that we don't have to worry about. That'll be on a project by project basis. We just need to make sure that what we're doing is creating that file change and the appropriate um, update. Now, when we do the pull request, um, renovate is uh, pretty sparse. I mean, they have the change log that they pull in from that repo for like the MyPy and the
Mhm.
commits that were involved, but there's nothing around the security aspect of it. So in this pull request, we'd want to list the details, and we have this information. We know the vulnerability. We know all the details about what's happening and why. So we want to be able to embed that information into the PR so people know that this is a critical vulnerability, this is their exposure on that front. So that
Okay.
helps set some context, Utkarsh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, but like depend about like it's already bumping up the version, right? Whenever there is a new version is detected.
It,
Mm,
it does that, but it just goes to the latest version, um,
okay,
and it's not doing it because of security reasons.
okay, okay, makes sense.
So we want to do all this in the context of security.
Okay,
So if we look at, in this case, there's 3 right in a row. There's going to be, if we go to page 2, there's going to be a couple others that are popping in here. So as you can see, that it's not in the context of security, and that's where we would want to like tag things, critical vulnerability or something along those lines to say you really need to fix this. Just don't let this PR sit out here for um, you know uh, this one's been out there for 5 days. These have been out there for a week. We want those things to be addressed as soon as possible. So currently, when a secured vulnerability is found, it takes around 100 days for that vulnerability to be addressed and moved out to production. It takes about 10 days for a hacker to exploit it. So we need to get under 10 days something out there so they know that they need to get this addressed in less than 10 days. Um,
mm-hmm.
and the exploits are going to come even faster as they start using AI as a hacking companion to run at the exploits. So more than likely, there'll be when an exploit comes out that's easy to uh, utilize, that the AI on the hacker side will be able to start exploiting these things within a couple hours. So that's the goal, is to shrink that time of getting a fix out uh, uh, by that's available for a team.
Okay. Yeah, I think that totally makes sense.
Yeah, I know that the Penapot and Renovate, they're able to do this, but they're not doing it in the context of security and securing software. It's just a blanket, keep my dependencies up to date, and the developers will get around to it whenever they want. Like on this case, um, this one here failed 4 checks. Um, and that may be something that we need to look at uh, is as a second step. Okay, we went and created this PR. We bumped the version to the correct fix version, but the checks are failing for some reason. So we may need to do on a second pass some investigation on why it's failing. That's a lot more complicated and it's out of the scope right now, but that is something that we can add down the road to help um, make sure that the this change that's being added is minimizes any bumps in the road.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Okay.
there's another thing that just came out. I think it was earlier this week, or yeah, I think it was like on Monday. Um, so Google has added a new LLM called Sec Gemini. I think that's what it is. Yeah. So I don't know if it's available for public use yet, um, but we may be able to, through the Linux Foundation, get a hold of it. Um, so the idea is it's focused on uh, including root cause analysis, threat analysis, um, more of that impact understanding. So another aspect of the security stance, um, we these things get ranked, but based on let's say HTTP proxy using IPv6. So let's say that your network is not using any IPv6; it's only IPv4. This security vulnerability would not be exploitable because you have an IPv4 network still. So that's where we can add some additional intelligence over to um, our description of why we're trying to solve this and what's happening on the security front. Um, so if you could look at the Sec Gemini and see what if it's available, things like that, what it's actually addressing, um, and it may be looking at like source code as well. I haven't had a chance to dive into exactly what it's looking at for uh, doing what it's doing. I think it may be. I have a feeling what it's doing is it's looking at the actual exploit itself, um, the details, and then doing some reasoning on how exploitable that is and stuff like that. I think it's actually going from the vulnerability side and giving some root cause analysis, some in depth to make better decisions by like um, a security, a CISO type of role. So we have to look at if it can help us on that front. Let me drop the
Okay.
link to this in the chat for you guys. I have no idea where. There it is.
Steve, I saw there's a link down below of that page for Sec Gemini. So for early access, you can fill a form.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, it's a Google form, so I think you can fill in.
Okay, perfect. Um, so we'll have to, Utkarsh, we'll have to see what this LLM is, and if we can do something like with a RAG against it, or a context window, how we can leverage the data that we have about the actual repo, because we know that we have this component. We know the source code for the component. We know the vulnerabilities that we want to address. We know all the package dependencies. So we can set up a pretty good context for the LLM to work against. So it'd be interesting to see what it comes up with.
Yeah.
How is a context window set? Is that just like JSON file or a text file? I can't remember.
Yeah, anything. I think XML, Markdown, or TXT or JSON.
Cool.
Anything is acceptable. Yeah.
Yeah, because we can whatever we need to export, we would just need to add that as one of our issues. Saying for the LLM we need this format with this data and it. The to help set that context route.
Yep. Hmm. Okay. So me and other folks will try to investigate further and try to draft something. And try to add like some tasks so that we can try to achieve this, step by step.
Yeah, and I will write up everything I just talked about. I will probably go grab the transcript and run it through AI, so we can create a kind of like the use case requirement and give you some guidelines to work in.
Okay. Yeah, that would be helpful. Yeah.
And I'll put that out there as an issue.
Okay.
And Sasha, I just saw that you jumped in. Just to bring you up to speed, I moved all of the issues out of the Ortelius repo, and I
Okay.
moved them into a backlog repo. So what we're going to do going forward is in the Ortelius repo, we'll go ahead and create our new issues. Whoops, I'm not sharing anymore. So in the Ortelius repo, we'll create new issues, but I want to make sure that, like for the Jenkins stuff that you and I will be working on, like the Jenkins
Yeah.
badging and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
we'll just create 3 to 5 issues that will take between a half hour and an hour to work on.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. That's a good idea. You're breaking it down into try and break it down into sort of blocks of time. That's cool.
Yeah, make it as small as possible for folks to work on.
Yeah.
And even though the task the issue may not complete the task 100%, it'll just be these small stepping stones that we'll work on to get to our end goal.
Yeah.
And we'll probably do the same thing around the work with Tecton.
Mm-hmm.
3 to 5 things for addressing
Mm.
Tecton.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the AI piece that Utkarsh is heading up.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's cool. If there's anyone else who wants to join, I CC Jing and I think Utkarsh. I also put it onto Utkarsh sorry, Utkarsh, I forgot to CC in the first email. And I also added Kate. I don't think there was anybody else. Can't remember, but I just CC'd you and Tracy and Steve just to show you that I've made contact with Andrea to set up something, and he was at KubeCon, so
Yeah,
and he sent some documentation through that we can go through. So yeah,
perfect.
I've started reaching out to him and getting it going.
Yep, and then feel free, both Utkarsh and Sasha, feel free to reach out to the Ortelius Google group and see if you can round up some additional help from the
Cool.
community.
Cool.
Yep. Sure.
So just one question quickly. Sorry,
Yep.
Utkarsh. So we're looking Tecton. I just wanted to touch base and make sure I'm aligned with you, Steve. We want to do what we've been trying to do with Jenkins, but with Tecton now, right?
Correct. We want
Okay.
to
Okay.
we'd want to probably, because the neat thing about that badge thing, we can generate a badge endpoint that can be used with Jenkins or with like Tecton as well.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool.
So what it will be is introducing the CLI into both of those tools
Okay, cool.
to
Thanks,
do
Steve.
the evidence capture.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Steve. Sorry, Utkarsh.
Utkarsh, what do you have?
No, nothing. I was not saying anything. Nakul, do you have any questions or anything? Anyway, we'll discuss offline.
So, Priya, like our main task would be to do research as much as possible on this Sec Gemini,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
That is one option, but let's try to find out what will be the architecture, what will be the pieces to
Mm-hmm.
cater this problem that Steve was talking.
Yeah,
Cool.
and there's another one I just saw come out. Let me pull it up. I think it's. I think it's Claude 3.7. I think Claude 3.7.
On it API. Okay.
Yeah. So I use Claude at the national lab, but I'm using version 3.5, and it's pretty good with generating code.
Yeah.
Great.
So this one may be work as well.
I can just tell you guys that that is the best AI that I've ever used for code. I've tried a number of them. This one rocks. Claude.
Yeah, because I'm on a restricted network, I can only get to Claude 3.5, and I'm
Okay.
impressed with it. But
I'm using 7,
you're using 7?
3.7, and I just deployed. I know. I mean, I'm totally for AI, right? Because I feel like the industry wants more out of less people, and
Yeah,
it's just getting more complicated, right? So I'm doing some pro bono work for a NGO. Actually, it's not pro bono work. I'm talking absolute rubbish, but and they only have a small budget, right? They're a non-profit. There's only 5 people, right?
yeah,
And I'm the only DevOps engineer. I've been using Claude to I deployed in a complete AWS environment from scratch with ECS production staging. I'm doing CI/CD, the full thing, and Claude has been my savior, right, for helping me with my Terraform, making sure I've aligned my architecture and stuff, and it's excellent. So I've thoroughly tested it in terms of Terraform. It's amazing.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that,
Sasa,
yeah, Arvin.
Yeah, Bo?
are you using it using like Cursor AI or Windsurf or only the web version?
No, I'm using the app version. Okay,
Okay.
the app, and I've connected it directly into the repo. You can, because that's what makes it so amazing, is it's able to access your repo. If you're cool with that, I don't care. I'm cool with it. It can
Yeah,
read
it's
the code already,
Ansible.
what's in there. Then you have to be very structured in what you tell it, what you're trying to achieve, right? So you set your project details, right? And I've been learning some of the hard way. Sometimes it trips out so badly, and I'm like, no, it trips out sometimes bad. But once you've got your context right and what you're trying to achieve, and you break it down into small little iterative flows, it's amazing. That's
And
like
does
I'm pretty blown away.
and it has a memory, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I keep burning it out, but
Yeah, I know. I do that too. I burn out my Chat GPT memory, and I got to dump it and start
yeah,
over. Now
you got to
I
refresh his
have,
brain. Yeah,
yeah, I have used Haiku as well.
yeah, Haiku's good. I mean, I burn it
But
out, then I go into Haiku. Yeah, from Sonnet.
I've Haiku I have not seen as well for coding. I think Haiku is comparing really well to one of the later llamas.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
for like more word processing document type of stuff, I think Haiku is pretty good. It's pretty fast. But Sonnet definitely for code.
Well, I find, Steve, that if you can integrate the repo, your repo where your code is lying, then Haiku is still pretty good
Okay.
because it's got access, right? But if you don't, then I can totally understand, right?
Yeah.
But that's what I find with Anthropic is that I haven't come across. I mean, I don't know all the AIs obviously, but the ones that I've been trying to use, Anthropic's the best because you can integrate it into your repo, right? You can add it to your GitHub, and it's allowed to read. So every time you're changing your code, it's getting an understanding the whole time of what you're changing and what you're doing. It's massively powerful,
Yeah.
right? It even generates diagrams for me. I've got my document. I'm documenting, diagramming, and coding all at the same time. It's
Nice.
insane. I'm like a dev team.
Yep. Yep. And that's kind of the goal that we're trying to achieve is from a security point of view, how can we make, we're going to get about 500,000 vulnerabilities this year.
Yeah,
Just
easy,
this
no
year,
problem.
and how do you filter those out to be what's important, and which ones I actually need to address, and how can I
Mm,
address them very easily through a package bump?
yeah, I did see that they brought out $100 a month if you want more juice from Anthropic, but like that's just beyond me. That's like nearly 3,000 Rand a month. I'm like, sorry, man,
Yeah,
that's too much for me. That's even a lot probably for somebody for people in the US, $100 a month. I don't know. Is that a lot? I'm not sure. But for me in
yeah,
South Africa, 100 times 20 virtually, it's like too much.
yeah. For what we need to do, I think we're not going to be a high traffic.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think we can get away with a lot of the free tiers, and that's where
Okay.
the context windows and the rags,
Yeah,
where we're
they're
actually
very
not,
powerful on that. Ne?
yeah, and we're not building the model. We're just pairing it up with our data.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks. I just thought I'd give you guys that feedback from my perspective. I mean, I literally developed a from scratch solution in 4 weeks, and I've deployed staging and production, full ECS, the whole
Yeah,
thing. It's pretty next level, right? How powerful the stuff is. Okay, I've been working ridiculous hours, but still, it's pretty powerful.
yeah.
Yeah, but you still need a human. It doesn't replace a human being because it does dumb stuff.
Oh, I know. Some of the hallucinations are crazy.
Yes, I'm like, oh, you had a trance party or something, man. What are you taking?
Yeah, yeah. Between commands, it went off to a rave and
Exactly.
came back and went back to work.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm like,
It,
I sometimes have to tell
Yeah.
it, stop it now. I get angry with it. I'm like, stop it, stop it. Like, give it a verbal slap.
yeah. All
Guys,
right, everybody. Anything else?
yeah, just one thing. Nakul this side. Sorry, I was
Yeah.
interrupting you guys. So, any recommendation on like from AI perspective, like which does a better image generation kind of stuff? Like I know ChatGPT does it. I have tried with Anthropic, like Cloud 7, our 3.7 and 3.5, but image generation, I don't think so. It's cup of tea, right? Anything that we have on that we can use programmatically in our code. Let's say I'm building some stuff that needs image generation.
Oh, do you know what I do? Are you talking about architectural drawing, Knuckle?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
any
for
any
solution?
model. Yeah, any solution
Um,
like using Claude, Anthropic,
uh, I
any
can
anyone
recommend.
is. Hmm.
You can use Anthropic. You know what Anthropic does for me, just from my experience, is it loves Mermaid, and Mermaid's great, right? So it'll write the Mermaid code. So architecture as code, right? So Steve, you're quite big on Mermaid too, right?
Yep.
You
Yep. I've
used it
used
for that.
Mermaid.
Anthropic does a great job of documentation as code using Mermaid. I've done so many drawings with it. It's amazing. Yeah.
But if you want a like a graphical image for like a
Like art,
PowerPoint, art,
like an
art,
artsy thing. Yeah, yeah, that's
I
not
I
so
would
good.
stick with ChatGPT 4 or higher.
Yeah, yeah. I've also had mixed results with ChatGPT. Yeah.
Tracy was doing some image generation, but she was at it for hours. It's not something that
Nah, it's
you
not
can
easy. Yeah.
you can crank out in 10 minutes. A
Nah.
good quality. It's it's banging at the responses for a couple hours to get what you need. And she uses a paid version of ChatGPT, so that's one of the things because she has unlimited basically memory and prompts, so you can get there. It just takes time.
Exactly. Image generation for me, I've also had very mixed results, and it takes a lot of time actually.
But the mermaid stuff
But
comes out pretty quick.
yeah, for documentation as code, for architectural and like cloud stuff, geez, Anthropic's insanely good. In fact, it's learned from me now that it'll do the README and the drawing for me. It doesn't. I don't even have to ask it anymore.
Nice.
just does it.
So does that answer your question, Naku?
Yeah, most of it. Yeah, sure. I will try with those AIs, I
But
guess.
reach out in the Discord, Knuckle. If you're stuck with something or you want to ask questions, just reach out in the Discord. Yeah.
Sure. Like
Yeah.
I have been also doing that kind of stuff with Claude. I don't know Go, but I did build an application in like an hour, front and back end, deployed it with 3.7. But yeah, it was crazy, man. Crazy stuff.
You can use Nevious AI also. It has very cheap models. Like for the FluxNL one, if you generate around 734 images, then you are going to burn $1. It's very cheap.
Okay. Cool.
Oven those.
All right. Anything else? So on my to-do list is I'm going to add a couple issues out there around the Jenkins, and then also around the lack of a better word, the use case or the AI ML piece. And I'll try to get those out there by early next week.
Yep.
And then,
Thanks, Chief.
yeah.
Sorry, you want to carry on, or I can, check later. It's about that blog stuff.
Oh, if we could chat later, I have another
Okay.
meeting coming up.
Okay, that's fine. Send you guys. Just tell me what to do next. Should I just open a pull request for you guys to merge into the
Okay.
main one, or yeah?
All right. I'll take a look. Did you create the pull request already?
Haven't yet. Should I do it?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Create the pull request, and I'll take a look at it.
Okay, sure. I'll do that.
Cool. Thanks, Jen. All
No
right.
worries.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank
And
you.
Utkarsh, feel free to schedule any meetings and head up that stuff in your time zone or around your time zone to make life easy on your since most of your group is over in UK and India and South Africa. Go ahead and don't. In other words, don't worry about me being around.
Sure, sure.
Don't you like getting up late at night, Steve?
No.
No.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Yes,
Thank you.
bye.